We've been taught everything except how to be human. Welcome to Human School, where remarkable people turn raw, unfiltered experience into practical wisdom. I'm Miles Adcox, and this podcast was born from the belief that you don't graduate from being human. You just get more honest about the lessons. If you're ready to stop performing your life and start participating in it, you're in the right place. This is Human School, where we finally learn what matters most. When I think about what it means to lead with both strength and gentleness, today's guest comes to mind. Judah Smith grew up steeped in ministry, a seventh-generation pastor who watched his father preach and felt the call himself as a young boy. But what strikes me most isn't the legacy he inherited, it's the way he's chosen to live it out. Judah and his wife Chelsea lead Church Home, a community built on the belief that faith should feel like home. Under his guidance, Church Home has moved from buildings into living rooms and phones to remind us that love and belonging aren't confined to walls. Judah has become known for his honesty, for questions like, how's your soul? He's spoken openly about the importance of mental health, about slowing down in a world that runs too fast. His humor, humility, and insistence on grace have made him a trusted voice for people inside and outside the church and people like me. I'm grateful for the chance to sit with my buddy today. Please welcome pastor, storyteller, and someone who keeps reminding us grace meets us right where we are. Judah Smith.
Come on. What? You didn't prepare me for that. That's the greatest thing that's ever been written about me. That's insane. No, it's right up there. That meant the world. Only you, Miles, would give the most meaningful introduction. It's like I just did therapy with you again. Here we are. So if you're out there and you need to be on this show just so Miles will write about you at the beginning. That was just unbelievable. Thank you for that. That actually meant a lot, and it actually energized me. Thanks for having me. I love you. When do I get to read my intro of you? Ladies and gentlemen, I still don't know how to pronounce your last name. Can you tell?
Adcox.
I'm not going to do it. No, I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to do it right. So
you won't believe how many jokes I got about that on the way up.
Yeah, and I just did a lot of editing there
for
the people out there.
Yeah. I threw a softball up.
Sorry for that.
You're not going to take the swing.
We'll just go with Milo. Didn't Ty coin that, Milo?
He recoined it. My high school football coach called me Milo. And it was very endearing because this was a coach. He was this coach was one of my kind of angel people in life that saw me at an early age and was a great mentor. Loved that coach. But he called me Milo. Not many people ever did, and it never stuck. Didn't pick up after that until Tyler comes along and he reintroduced it.
But it's like from a guy that meant a lot to you.
And it took 2 years. Yeah, he's one of my best friends. It took 2 years before I told him the backstory because it felt so endearing every time he would say it. And he never asked me. It was just typical Tyler fashion. He never said, "Do you like it?" He assigned it to me.
But then it was connected already to a man that had meant a lot to you. And then here comes one of your dearest friends. Like, that's cool. Can I guess your position in football?
Please.
Because I don't think you've told me.
Yeah, please.
I think you dabbled at quarterback, but I think you ended up playing some wide receiver.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then I think I think you also played cornerback as well on defense.
You clearly come from much larger schools with a lot more people. I graduated with 94 people, so I was actually a big guy in the school I grew up in. And actually, I had more weight on me. Well, not in high school. I had about the same weight. High school to college, I gained a little bit more weight. But I played, believe it or not, I did play receiver, but not a wide receiver.
Tight end.
Guys, listen, we got to reshoot this. I'm kidding. Part of me said tight end.
Man, I should have gone with it.
We ran a wing T offense, which is a really old but a really great offense. I
remember it.
So tight end was where I stayed 90% of the time. But I did go to. My coach saw a little potential in me. My sophomore year, he sent me to the Bobby Bowden Quarterback and Receiver Academy.
No way!
You remember Bowden?
Florida State,
baby, back in their prime.
Yes.
And so one of his sons, it was Terry, I think. Was it Terry?
Terry Bowden became a coach at Auburn, I think.
Yeah, but he also coached at Samford, a college in Alabama, a smaller school.
Deep. deep call.
I know that because that's where the camp was hosted.
Oh,
they bounced
I
it
see.
around, but his dad would kind of pop in. But it was his sons that were really. He has two sons, right? I think both of them coached.
Yeah, both of them. Yeah. I can't remember the other.
But anyway, I came back from there, and my hands and my routes and everything was sharper. And so they were like, "Okay, we're going to bump you out to wideout and try some different, a little bit different
How'd that
strategy
go?
on offense." Left one thing got missed in that analysis of what we should run. Speed.
I knew it. I should have said it.
And I was like, that's why I'm a tight end. I never.
Well, you know what they say, you can't teach speed. So
fair enough.
that's what they say.
But also, was on defense. I was outside linebacker.
Whoa.
I know. Yeah. But again, it was a small school, and so we didn't have a lot of big, that role.
What did you weigh back then?
I'm gonna guess about what I weigh now, about 170, 180. But yeah, the cornerbacks were probably 130, 140 in the school.
Okay, right. Yeah, that's true.
But
If you
defense,
said O-line,
I love both sides of the ball, but defense is what I really love.
Really?
I love that outside linebacker role. It was so fun.
That's unbelievable. I got to be honest.
I wish I
never
would have been
played
fast
defense.
enough to play corner. That would have been fun too.
Yeah.
What'd you play?
You look like I played QB, but I was better at tennis, so I finally quit the football team and decided to play tennis, which is ironic because during football practice we made fun of the tennis guys, but I was pretty good at tennis, so I quit the QB role and then focused on tennis and basketball. Statistically, here's my average. Yeah, start getting into it. I'm kidding. I don't think anyone cares. How about that?
We play. I forget you're a basketball guy, and I remember your tennis because I played you in ping pong. I've seen your old tennis maneuvers
you're
come
good
out.
at ping pong.
But basketball was the sport I played the least because baseball and football was what I loved. Played basketball in high school, but now basketball I play more than anything because our mutual friend Jelly and I
always out there.
we hoop everywhere we go, just about every city. Played in Montreal yesterday.
Did you really play? You played hoop with the Canadians. Let me ask you. At our age, I'd like to say our age.
Right.
I mean, you're in phenomenal shape. So you're not getting hurt at all? Like you're not like worried about it? Which is probably a bad thing to even bring up. I don't know why I'm doing this. But it's a real thing for me. Like I think of like hoop and I'm like, I just don't think I have it in the faculties anymore.
Let me tell you what I learned about hooping. So I got back into it with guys, and it's a pretty diverse group of guys with ages that span from 20 to 50 and everything in between.
Yeah.
And I'm on the back side of that. I'm in that upper tier. So
yes, we are.
I worried about it a little. I was like, I don't have time and don't want to get hurt. I've got little ones running around at home. I got to do this. But as soon as I got on the court for the first time, by the way, I had no lungs, no wind. I'd not gotten in shape for it at all.
Man.
And I only knew one speed, which is you have to go all out. And I went all out, just about killed myself for the first 2 months I played. Couldn't get out of bed. I was so sore and so beat up. I mean, I was down low banging on these big guys for rebounds, playing like Rodman because I've never had a great shot, but I was always good at defense. And I was like, I'm going to just go. And then I governed back a little bit. And I was like, I've learned you can still enjoy the game and not feel like you're playing for the NBA championship every time you step on the court. So now I play at a little different level, and I'm preserving my health outside of one torn rotator cuff that came off of a concrete wall in Jacksonville last year. I'm in good shape. No other injuries. I highly recommend it.
But this is why I love you, because of course that's how you started to play, because you know no other way. And I would like to think that we're similar that way. Like if you're going to do something, let's be the best. Like let's give everything we got. And I do love that about you. But that's why I don't play hoop anymore, because I can't govern myself. That's the bottom line. Or my attitude. That's why I had to quit tennis. I broke too many rackets.
Well, let's start with doing your best, because you it's a good bridge you threw up there for us, because I know you're quite good at what you do. You're one of my favorite orators, one of my favorite communicators, and you use that in a lot of different ways. I leaned a little bit heavy on what you're known for in that intro, but you are not just a one-dimensional pastor. You kind of have moved your skill set and your ability out into culture in some cool ways. And like you said, if you're going to do it, why not be one of the best at it? Where's that come from?
I mean, to be honest, so my dad, I think I've told you this before, and this is talk about an unfair story, because it just is, and life is not fair. But my dad, from my earliest memory, said, people like you, and they want to hear what you have to say. And, excuse me, it gets me choked up, but no, seriously, I mean, we're talking like, I don't want to exaggerate, 7, 8, 9 years old. Hey, son, what do I always tell you? People like you, and they want to hear what you have to say. I think he saw in me that perhaps I was going to have a gift to communicate, and I think he knew that the greatest head start he could give me was this like overwhelming sense that when I walk into a room, people are like, I like you. I wonder what you have to say. So as a communicator, it drew me into not the cost of being the best, but the opportunity and excitement around, I'm going to be the best at this because people like me and they want to hear what I have to say. Obviously, you grow up and you realize like a lot of people don't like you and the last thing they want to hear is what you have to say. But that really set my world in motion and I just have really, really enjoyed it. And then my dad and mom were very excellent people. My mom, very disciplined woman. And so it was like, man, whatever we do, we're going to do it with all of our heart. And of course, that's in the ancient text. And whatever your hand finds to do it with all of your might. And so there was this feeling in our family that passion and excellence are, kind of a tandem that you just buy into. And so yeah, I've kind of enjoyed the process. And I have to say, like, I think one of the many reasons I love you and Vanessa and your family and what you do at Onsite is there is this underline of excellence that is underline actually is not true. There's this overt, commitment to excellence and doing what you do at the highest level. And I think if I could be so bold in our line of work from preaching to like therapy, which you can't just minimize what you do to therapy, but like excellence was like not noble. Almost kind of in our worlds, and the fact that you bring excellence to helping people in the most painful points of their life to me only makes sense, but it's also really compelling.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That seed, no, I'm real curious about this. I love origin stories, but that seed that your dad planted back then by I love that people like you and they want to hear what you have to say. If that seed it could be named an emotion of some kind, what would it be? Is it drive? Is it he planted a seed of motivation? He planted a seed of belief. What
confidence.
Confidence.
Yeah.
Confidence by way of affirmation. Yep. Early was something that really was a signal to you or a flare. It's like, okay, I got something to give here.
Yeah. The truth, my story is it wasn't until 16 that I ever struggled with confidence a day in my life. And it was a watershed moment, and my dad was so sweet. He kind of chuckled like, oh, buddy, welcome to life. Every day is not going to be. Miles, I can't remember feeling any social fear until one specific day when I was 16 years old.
I mean, you know what I'm going to ask next.
Yeah.
I hate to be that obvious, but I'm so curious about what happened on that day, if you're open to share.
It was a guest preacher. Interestingly enough, he was living a duplistic life. That's an interesting thought. But there was something about him. I couldn't come into my dad's office and say hi. It was suddenly I was overwhelmed with intimidation, and I couldn't smile. I couldn't look him in the eye. I just couldn't. And it's funny at 16, it's adorable, but like my whole world caved in. And I concluded on that day. I went into the back alley of my dad's office building, and it was pouring down rain because it's Seattle. And I said, I can't be a pastor's kid anymore, and I'm done with this, And my dad found me in the alley, and he's like, son, are you okay? And I told him, Dad, I can't do this anymore. And he's like, I understand. Well, no, Dad, like, I'm done. I understand. No, I can't keep it up anymore, Dad. I'm exhausted. I understand. That's okay. And obviously, I think my dad would have made a great therapist. I
Clearly.
think he had much more
mirrored
your
that moment
disposition than
perfectly,
mine.
yeah.
But we just sat there, and he's like, no problem. You don't have to then, son. I love you no matter what. And of course, a couple of days later, I was ready to go again. It was all, but he just gave me that space. And I think he was such an instiller of like, okay, no problem. I believe in you. I love you. And I think, early we were talking in your office, the head start that my dad gave me emotionally and socially in life, it's so unfair, but it's so real, and I just love him for it. And to this day, I think I have a sense of like, I'm really excited of what I might say, and it might be really interesting. I think I'm going to enjoy it. And as weird as cocky as that even sounds, I came at it very honestly with my dad. And I think my dad dreamed that he would have had a dad like that. And I think that drove him. He's like, I'm going to be the dad that his preacher dad never was.
Wow.
He was just the opposite. And it, both my sister and I don't think we lack for confidence. So at least we have that going for us. But he did a good job.
I think it's such an interest if you dissect that a little bit, because a lot of people I hear have a moment where they got affirmed for something that seeded a belief that they could go be something or do something.
Wow.
And then often that gets fractured somewhere along the way. And instead of it turning into this innocent opportunity to go be great at something, it feels like pressure, undue pressure. Like, I have to be that. I have to be that. And I'm always curious, is like, well, why? Okay, so two people come from similar environments. You got a seed planted of affirmation at a young age, which bred confidence. But I think the key moment, which I'm glad you told it, is I don't think confidence stays consistent without reassurance.
Whoa.
And I saw your dad come in at that pivotal moment. The first time you had a breach in your confidence, he came in with reassurance.
Yeah, no problem.
And I'm curious how, because a lot of people can emulate the first thing they see and experience, but there's layers underneath it that I wonder if you can also emulate the depth that potentially was the catalyst that allowed this to be sustainable. Because I do believe it's sustainable. You are likable and you are confident. What you have to say, and I love that about you. Wildly social,
Thank you.
And you're really, like I said, a great communicator. But you also do for others, i.e., me. What you missed when we walked in here, because I think you were on a call with Chelsea, maybe, is I said to a couple of my teammates here, I said, I hadn't got to catch up with him in quite some time. We just had the most beautiful 1.5, 2 hour catch up.
Amazing.
And I learned a lesson there. I said, maybe don't do that until after the podcast.
That's true. We're all talked out, guys. All right, it's been great.
Well, I know we got a lot more to say. And I tried not to ask you many questions, but we just had a really rich, great conversation, a catch up.
Really
Some of it
Thank you.
didn't need to be on here, which was
Right.
fine. But some of it did. But you did for me in there what your dad did for you at 7 and 8.
Wow.
And then you also did for me what your dad did for you at 16. And you do it so naturally. It's like you spot something, you see it, you can't help yourself but to speak into it, and then you double back on it after the story and you reassure people just to make sure they don't forget it.
Wow.
And I know that's part of your gift as a communicator and as a pastor, as a minister, as a friend, you do a lot of stuff. We'll get into some of the other stuff lately, and it's neat to hear it. Okay, maybe it came honest. But have you developed your own style? Do you ever think about the guy behind the tool? I've got all these tools. Is it natural to you as a communicator and as an encourager? Is it something you have to work at?
Wow, that's such a great question. Thank you for all that. I think, by the way, I just got to make an observation because I think you just put it together for me. And I don't think I realized, which this is what happens with Miles, by the way. But you're like, oh, wait. Okay, so like if my dad at 16 that day says to me, get it together, what's wrong with you? I didn't raise you like this. I wonder if even my mentality could have been altered for the rest of my life. But you're right. It's funny. I've told that story before, but of course it wasn't to someone, it wasn't you. And so you weren't like, whoa, he just, that's it. Like he did it. Like he gave me space and room. And so it didn't turn into pressure. You're right. I've never put that together because sometimes I've struggled with people who are like, dude, I feel so much pressure. Like doing podcasts, I did one earlier today, and people ask me like, do you get nervous? And like, of course, there's a bunch of nerves, especially when I'm golfing with really good golfers. But like, when I get into a space like this, like, I just get so excited about what we're going to talk about and what we're going to say. But you're right. It goes back to like my dad instilling it, but I never realized. And I think right now in real time, I'm being convicted a little bit about my parenting and me, the dad, realizing like and you're so good at this. And we've done therapy together and watching like, my personality is like, what's wrong? No, fix it. Like I just got off the phone with Chelsea and something hurt her feelings. And I was like, not a problem. We're going to get you on the trip and we're going to make sure, and that's not what she needs. What she wants from me is like, babe, I'm so sorry. Tell me how you're feeling. And I try to be more like you that way, Miles. I promise I do. And I learned that from our time together, but I do need to be reminded. And so I guess I'm just saying things out loud. I'm grateful that my dad did that. As it comes to my gift and intentionality, I am the way that I'm wired is like I have to get around. A lot of people, like, I read books, I study, and I prepare. I have to have a 2-hour conversation with Miles. Like that is how I develop. That's how I grow, is I ask questions, and like I just grow that way. And I can't. So I was at another place earlier today, and I like find people. I'm like, hey, let's talk. Like, tell me your story, whatever. And that's how I'm developing and growing. I'm also like constantly, and I think you're this way, but like people study the art of communication. To me, it's all about obsessing over the object of communication, which is the human being. And if you understand humans, and if you get in touch with what humans are feeling in 2025 and their highs and their lows and their pains and their thrills, like, then if you're already good at putting some words together, but if you can meet people where they go, how did he know? That's what I feel right now, which obviously you're so incredibly highly skilled at, and you're able to train others, and on-site helps people. And I'm going to be unashamed in my commercial about on-site during this podcast, because it means so much to me and so much to people who mean a lot to me, because you meet people and where they really are, not where you think people are. And so I will say that I really enjoy the process of getting to know. I got in a combo today about Gen Zers, and I'm like, okay, tell me what you know. Like, what are they feeling? What are they sensing? And that's exciting to me. And I feel like tonight I'm doing a Bible study, and I'm like, okay, how can I assimilate my new information? Like, how can I get it? Because that's also how I learn. And perhaps maybe it's also just staying curious. I find myself to be incredibly curious, and I think it kind of helps, hopefully, in communicating.
Well, I think it does.
That was a lot.
No, it wasn't. It was just right. When you were, I think it's important to remember what your dad did in that moment. I'll do a call back too, because I think that was awesome that you reconnected that dot, and then you moved it forward to the conversation you had with your wife outside the door, and you said, in real time, I should have said, and often we're even trying to think of the right thing to say when we're empathizing and mirroring. It's like, how's the right way to do that? What's the right? And I love what your dad did back there. He was like, okay. I hear. And the whole time I was thinking, I'm with him. I mean, when you're telling it story, I'm with him. And it's almost like we got to take a page of that playbook. Next time Vanessa has a problem, I'm pulling your dad.
Yeah, same.
Okay. I hear you. It's okay. We got you. It's so good.
Vanessa, Chelsea, if you can hear us,
yeah,
we're getting better.
One of the things that's undeniable, and I used to think it was your style. I think communicators are stylistic, and yours, you have a lot of charisma and a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm. It's almost like watching a little bit of, it's like a play in one person with a lot of characters watching you on the stage.
And clearly he doesn't know which one he is.
No, it's really fun because you draw from high intellect. I can tell you've done your homework and your research, whatever topic you're talking about, but you put a lot of humor and heart and impact, and you're just coming all over the place. And you can tell the words are coming through you. It's not something you've overly prepped or prepared for. I'm sure you do a little prep, but it's an organic manifestation. And I used to think it was the enthusiasm, but I actually think it's the authenticity. Because when I got to know you as a friend behind the scenes, I was like, oh, wait a minute, he's the same guy. It's not performance. He's actually the same guy. Now, I have caught you in quieter moments.
That means a lot.
And stuff. But
painful moments.
We've all been there. But I am curious how you carry that through. Because I think that's one of the hardest things to do is I communicate a lot too, one-on-one mostly, but I speak and do different things. And for me, the tell is if I get quick in my voice or if my accent starts to change a little bit, that I'm getting in the performative side. And the performative side to me is, am I saying the right thing to the right people at the right time? And I'm thinking about that in real time, which is always the recipe for a average talk. Versus I don't, like, even in real-time communication, if I'm thinking about the next question I'm going to ask you, then I'm not with you on this current question. But there is a cliffhanger moment when I go right to the edge of, like, you're saying some really brilliant stuff. I got no idea where I'm going next.
Yeah, totally.
But there's something about that's my style. It shouldn't be everybody's style. It's just my playbook. I think it's your playbook as a speaker a little bit. But how has that served you? And Does it ever make you feel uncomfortable at all? Is it vulnerable to walk into environments and not have it, but then just realize it's going to come?
Yeah, I definitely have struggled for a long time believing that I wasn't smart. And I don't say that so people feel bad for me. I love my life, and whatever's going on up here, I've really enjoyed it. But I genuinely didn't believe that my intellect was, and primarily because in my tradition, it was all about so much of the study and the data and the stats. And by the way, I could never find where scripture is in the Bible. I just can't. It will never happen. Like it could be I think I know John 3:16, because of Tim Tebow, but literally I don't I just can't get the address right. And so I've been embarrassed about that. I feel like I mix up the names and characters. Is it Elisha or Elijah and all these different things in scripture? And so I'm just like, oh man, I kind of feel embarrassed. And then the way that I prep or the way that I move or the way that I think also felt like, man, and it has honestly been incredible friends like you who have been able over the process of my adulthood to be like, bro, this is it's kind of the way God wired you, and it's kind of what makes you good at what you do. And I think it's the last 15 years of my life where I've just been like, dude, this is awesome. This is me. And the other day, I have a friend who's in a midlife crisis. He's our age, and he's hoping to be discovered, whatever that means. And I told a 32-year-old friend of mine, I was like, hey, at my age, you are who you are. It doesn't mean you can't change and grow, but who you are is probably who you are. You know what I mean? And I'm not waiting to be discovered. Again, there's so many, I want to keep changing. And because of Onsite, I think I can, and all of these things, but I am who I am. And so starting to embrace who I am. And the only way I'll answer this is my life scripture that's changed my life. There's this guy named Paul. He has this crazy encounter with God. He's an absolute thug. His name's Saul. He has this encounter with real Jesus, which is the only kind of encounters that matter in terms of your spiritual journey. If there is a God, meet me, please. And he does. And then he starts to mentor this young guy named Timothy. Timothy ends up having what we think could be as churches, maybe as 30,000 people. In antiquity, it's 30 million. And so Timothy's profile is growing, and he's dealing with all these emotions. And Paul writes to him in his second letter, and he's like, hey, be strong in the grace. In other words, embrace who you are, not who you want to be, you hope to be, you wish to be, just who I made you to be. And so when I feel like I'm not being myself, there's clear indicators. I'm overthinking, which is really bad for someone with my kind of wiring. If you overthink, you're doomed. You got to let this thing fly, baby, because that's literally your only. And so if you're out there and you feel like me, bro, let that thing rip, let that thing fly. I am at my best, no notes. My preparation has to be through the course of my journey. And by the time I'm up there, if my wiring's going to work, the second thing I'd say is I got to get my mind off myself, and I have to literally, this is going to sound maybe not so strange, but I have to have a real love affair with my audience. It has to be, I have to be caught up in the emotion of it. I gotta sense them and feel them. And so I love a live audience for that, because what I've done since I was a young boy starting out in revival meetings when I was 16 is I'll find someone in the audience that I don't know, and I'll imagine their life that brought them to that night. And I'll imagine what they must have faced and what they've gone through, which is a bizarre thing. And sometimes I've got caught staring at someone, and they're staring back at me, and then it dawns on me that we're locking eyes, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh my God, that was weird. But I'll get totally caught up in what I think could be their story. And so I'll go to the stage with this whole journey. And I also think in my line of work, imagine what someone's gone through to come through the doors of a spiritual community. It's going to an AA meeting. It's taken a lot to get there, And so first of all, let's start there. Bro, this person is so desperate, so in need of something that they've come to hear a preacher on a Friday night in South Beach, Miami. Bro, you better bring something that's worthwhile and not just your latest hot sermon. Pour yourself out. And so one of my heroes, Bishop T.D. Jakes, said, you study yourself full, pray yourself hot, and then you let yourself go.
Slow down.
Sorry,
say that
I'm
again.
going so fast. I get so excited. Study yourself full, pray yourself hot, and then let yourself go, baby. And whatever's in you is in you. And if it ain't in you, it's too late now because you're on the stage and people are dying in the streets. And what you have could save lives. So in my smallest group of friends, every night before we have church in LA or church in Seattle, we text, it's life and death, baby. Like this isn't a game for us. This is like people are in the streets dying for meaning, significance, hope, belonging, connection, forgiveness, value. Like, bro, we have got to be about this. So I don't really know the question that I'm answering anymore, but I got pretty excited. I'm grateful
we
for
started
what we
talking
get to
about, and the reason I ask is because a lot of times I get a chance to sit with high-performing people that have done some really cool things out in the world. And I think the world often gets a bird's eye view of how they do their craft, which is kind of where we started. But I'm interested in the human behind the craft and how the craft benefits the human as much as I am about how the human benefits the craft. And because I do think people who have found a level of success, however we define that, doesn't always equate over to the personal side.
Wow.
And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it gets in the way of it. And you and I have had these conversations a lot because it's gotten in the way of both of our journeys before. But I think we both have a genuine, we have this appetite for being congruent, for it being in us. In your case, it's I really want this message to be within me. Yeah. And if it's within me, then it's more likely going to get to be within you. And the only way it's within me is I'm actually living what it is I'm saying, which is a whole heck of a lot harder than just saying it. And I'm curious about that. So you're this great communicator, and we learned a little bit about your recipe. We learned about the origin story, where it came from. How does it serve you in day-to-day life with your people, your friend community, your family? Or does it?
I think it helps and it haunts for sure. My own words are haunting. I don't know if this happens for you and some of the content you produce, but sometimes somebody reminds me of content that I have quite lost. And it's like, yeah, I don't even practice that anymore, bro. Wow, that's humiliating. I'm not saying I say that all the time, but like, I had this 18 and 19-year-old, these two young men fly in from North Carolina last week. And I told them to come to my house and hang out in LA. I'd show them the time of their life. They didn't believe me. I texted them. They're like, oh, wait, you're serious? Okay, we're coming. So they come out. I call them the Carolina Boys. I put them up at the hotel on Sunset Boulevard. Their minds are blown. And we're just doing it, man. We're doing life. We're hanging. We're FaceTiming people. We're doing the. And they started quoting sermons of mine from 2013, 2015, 2018. And they started saying stuff, Miles. Dang, if it didn't convict me. I was like, whoa. Boy, and then I would go back to that 31-year-old preacher and what he was facing and going through. And I thought, isn't that interesting? You old guy, 46 years old, thinking you don't need that anymore. Or you're past that. And I was just really, really convicted. So it's, I think in a way, I love to bring you in on my pain, but I think it is haunting what we do because sometimes, ironically, you exist to serve and help people be their best. And in the process, kind of forget. Not so much forget, but just kind of assume on yourself, I'm good. No, I'm good. And then like some 18-year-old gives you your own stuff back to you and you're like, oh man, I really needed that. The disparity, the duplicity, which ironically, the thing I hate the most in my line of work, I'm most prone to, and that duplicity, that chasm between public and private, which begins to grow. And I've learned if you ignore it, it grows. Not just if you like invest in the divide, meaning like you intentionally become duplistic, you intentionally become a hypocrite. I think we all already are. But like if you just ignore that thing and you don't tend to the gap and you don't intentionally, you can become two different people without even thinking overnight. So like the number of preachers I've met with who said, told me that they were either, doing stuff that like basically they had to quit their job, right? Like you can't be a preacher and do this, whatever that is. They've all said the same thing unanimously. And I don't know at what point I took note. And this was the statement they all said verbatim, word for word. I never thought it would be me.
Mm.
And I've often thought to myself, and that's why it was.
Wow.
And that's why it was. Somehow you thought that the public you was the total real you. Like you're impervious, you're a superhero. No, dog, you're just a nightmare like me. And we're all like, nah, we're just broken, average, ordinary people that get to serve humanity, and what an honor and a thrill that is. So I have tried to keep that one close. The moment you think, oh, bro, I would never, whatever comes after never, you most likely gonna do. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm at these days.
It's an open stance of humility, but I think you do that pretty well, meaning you represent both sides of that. Here's the version of optimizing my life and my faith that at times I hit the metric on, and I would love to invite you into. And I'm a mess with a message over here. I've got my days. I'm human. I think you try to bring the human experience. I'm trying to. I'm newer. I'm trying to get public with some of the content I've been creating. You've
Thank God.
Thank God. Thanks. But I'm catching little things like, and I too don't do as well scripted, but yet I'm trying to find my way there, because I had a head knock a few years ago that I'd say several head knocks from my football days and led to this head knock. And I don't recall like I used to, even my own content. And so I've been playing a little bit with writing it and seeing if I can recall it and memorize it. But often, if the first round I'll write it, I'll say something, I'll identify a challenge or a problem, and then try to humanize it, then try to talk about the solution, and then invite people into it. Well,
Brilliant.
Often it's here's the problem, and then I said a line like this last week when I was on doing a piece of content, and I said and here's where most people get it wrong. Think about that comment.
Whoa.
And so the first draft, I put that out there, and not a lot of people would have caught it, and I didn't change it for people. I changed it for me, because I thought that's out of humility right there. What I need to say, and I went back and said it, I said, here's the thing I get wrong sometimes.
Come on.
And I really believe you do that well too. And I think it's one of the things that's made you relevant in pop culture. What's unfortunate is there's a lot of pop culture we know moves the needle as far as influence. What's unfortunate is I think here's somebody who represents a body of knowledge, i.e., faith and spirituality, that is really there to help you live a better life. Yeah. And I represent a body of knowledge that studies human behavior, and it's really there to help you optimize and live a better life and solve some of your challenges. Guys like us are rarely sitting around the table of influence. So it's hard to say we're very relevant in pop culture. And if we're not relevant in pop culture, then who is influencing us? And you have made a point, and I don't know if you did it intentionally or if it's happened organically, I'm curious, and to where you've become relevant in pop culture, to where you don't just run with the people that you minister to at your church. You're just as likely to be at the Grammys or somewhere else with people that you're influencing and ministering. And was it a choice? Was it intentional?
Lana still should have won that Grammy, but that's beside the point. Just want to go on record to say that.
I agree, sweet Lana.
Yeah, I'm still hurt, But, a couple answers. Like, I got a vision. My dad would meet with a couple athletes back in the day. His dream was always to be the chaplain of the Seahawks. I did finally realize that, although he was gone from the earth and didn't get to see it. But so I'll say that my dad felt like the greatest story ever told should impact the greatest storytellers in the world, which oftentimes are the musicians and the movie and the actors and the actresses and the athletes. And so I'll have to say that was kind of bred in me. And then I found it interesting as I started up as a young preacher, the trajectory, or how should I say, the direction in which the church has traveled in the United States of America is fascinating. I only know this because I'm in this and I've done this. And that is, if you look at kind of our migration maybe in the church location, we do a lot of work in the suburbs and not as much in the urban core. By the way, nothing wrong with that. We're all God's children. It's awesome. But ironically and traditionally and typically, there are kind of culture centers in the world, right? There's a reason LA is LA, New York, Paris. We could go on and on. But these are culture hubs. And if you look at kind of the influencers and the writers and the speakers and the thinkers and the dancers and the orators, they all kind of migrate. I mean, we were sitting here in Nashville. Nashville is a hub. Nashville is a bastion of art and culture and influence to the world. For some reason, I just started to go, man, we gotta I would say go upstream, which is where the culture flows. There's this scene in The Devil Wears Prada. Oh, do I love it. Meryl Streep, I just am in love with her. But remember the Anne Hathaway character comes in and she's kind of got this frumpy outfit, or I don't know if that's an okay word. And she's like, I'm not. Yeah. She's like, I'm not really into fashion. And Meryl Streep looks at her and says, oh, sweetie. And she breaks down her whole outfit and how it was directly impacted by what they set out 7-8 years ago in that office. And in other words, whether you like it or not, you're so cute. You know how people would be like, dude, I hate pop culture. I do my own thing. But no, it's not how it works. For whatever reason, the way the world works is there are things that we're all affected by the culture curators and the culture creators. It's always been that way, and that's okay. Sistine Chapel, all the art and everything. I say that to say, and I think we connect on this, I signed up to do what I do to win. I don't know any other way. And what that means to me is if I played in the NFL and I have friends and I was the chaplain, you play to win one game and it's called the Super Bowl and you get the Lombardi trophy. You get a paycheck, whatever. But ultimately, it's just that simple. In our line of work, there's only one way to win, and it's the only thing I can't get. The world. So we win the world. Now, people say, oh, that's cute, that's sweet, whatever. I just combined cute and sweet to queet. But that's all great. No. My sacred text tells me, in one case, it says people like me showed up in a city and say they've turned the world upside down. I believe I want people to experience the benefits of forgiveness and connection and intimacy and alignment with the universe and God and the animals and the flowers. I'm really serious about this. And I believe that we have the greatest story to tell in the whole wide world. So then the objective should be so that as many people could hear it as possible. So then naturally it only makes sense to me that the influencers of the age, which has always been true indicatively of human history, would also tell the greatest story ever told. And so, and then I go into the text of the New Testament and I see Paul in Ephesus and I see him in Rome. I see him in these culture centers, and that just provokes me because the goal is just that more people would know they're already forgiven and loved by God. And so I'm down. And lastly, I'll just say the irony is people will ask me, a young person came up to me in a coffee shop the other day, and this is embarrassing, but they're like, hey, I know who you are. I was like, bro, thank you. That's always flattering. That's amazing. He's like, bro, I have a heart to pastor celebrities too. And I feel like God's called me to pastor celebrities. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. This has gotten out of hand. It's no. And I was like, bro, I think I lied because I was like, bro, that's so sick. Awesome. Love you. I didn't know what to say, Miles, because I was like, I don't know if that's the thing. I'm called to serve humanity in the respective cities that God places me. I do live in LA. You do live in Nashville. And so with that, I'm open to everybody. I just want to go on record to say the vast majority of people that I lead, care for, pastor, listen to, and pray over, they're not celebrities. But there are a few that are. And it's worked out that way providentially with God, and I honor that, and that's sacred to me, and I want to protect individuals who are under a microscope and have influence. But I don't know sometimes with this whole I'm going to pastor celebrities. It's bro, if you got a heart for humans, who knows what's possible? But I also know it is a little bit different these days to be a quote unquote celebrity. I mean, the pressure that comes with it is astronomical. So I don't want that person who met me in the coffee shop to hear this and then feel sad, because I do think you're awesome and God can use you.
What would you say to them if you had another window where they had a little more time? How might you?
Hey, can I ask you about that? Yeah. What do you mean? What have you felt from God? Well, I just felt I love LA. Okay, tell me more. I love celebrities. Yeah, I do too. Most people do. What have you felt from God? And I think I would dig in. Tell me your origin story. Tell me what you felt. And I think what we could uncover together, which would be my goal, I don't want to be patronizing, I really mean that, is that I think what God's called you to is to love people in Los Angeles of all different kinds and just be open to what God, and you clearly have a heart for people of influence. Start praying for them, bro. Like literally, like talk to God about it and then find ways you can serve. And then let the chips fall where they may. I know enough to know about you and your journey, you and Vanessa and your family, that like you have incredible influence with people of great influence, but like you really love humans and they happen to be humans too, and in some cases have lost their humanity, and you want to give it back to them. And so I don't know, am I a purist? Am I being silly? Somehow that matters. How you come at it matters to me. Because celebrities are so leveraged, the last thing we need is pastors being called to them so they can leverage them as well.
Yeah, come on.
But
well, and I think I would just add, if you ever get a chance to hear this message, that I love what you just said, in that when you said I love celebrities, most people would stop there and be like, ooh, that's dangerous. That's a problem. What you said is me too.
Yeah.
Who doesn't? And then, but then you started to ask the right questions to invite, it was a him, right?
yeah,
His why.
Yep.
That's ultimately all you were saying is, hey, and if we had a little more time and not in the coffee shop line, I think it's spend time on the why. Because I see a lot of people, even in my space, that know I also affiliate with some people with influence, that they are intrigued by it. And I think their intentions are often very pure.
I agree.
But if you don't know your why and you find yourself in that scenario, it can end up chewing you up and spitting you out. Because really what I feel I'm called to is to be a good human in a very dehumanizing ecosystem. And that's not an easy thing to do.
Right.
I mean, think about it. I'm trying to go up and be the all it's a very weird world. And it's appetizing because of the influence, but you said it's upstream. It's upstream. And it's, imagine yourself walking upstream. That's what it feels like. It's not an easy lift. It's very difficult. It comes at a personal cost. But if you know your why, if you really know your why, and if it has anything to do with a greater calling and a ripple and loving people and influence and loving on you so that you can, through your words and art and music, encourage my kids, then I think we need a lot more people, humanizing, dehumanizing scenarios. So there's no criticism at all.
No.
I want to invite you, just as you did, to get into your why. I got invited to speak at this conference. It's a long time ago. It was probably 10 years ago. And I don't know why they chose me, because I didn't even have the experience at that time to do it, but I did it. And it was a behavioral health conference, a lot of psychologists and therapists, and it was kind of put on by Music Cares, which was it's the philanthropic arm of the Recording Academy.
Yeah.
It's a great charity, one of my favorite charities, a great charity. But they organized it, and the idea was how do we better love on and support artists, creatives, the music community. And so you've got a lot of therapists there that some have never sat in front of an artist. But everybody is aspiring to learn and how do I be a better caregiver, better therapist to these folks? And I had an opportunity to speak. And the one thing I wanted to do was to see, is there a way to normalize that? Because a lot of times, because of our training, people get into our space and think, I'm unaffected by who you are.
Right.
I mean, that's where they start. There is not one bit of transference or counter-transfer happening. The fact that I'm sitting across from this celebrity.
Right. Here we go.
And so you keep in mind, people with influence and have created platforms, they are bloodhounds when it comes to sniffing out anything disingenuous. And they will sniff you out faster than anybody's business. And the one thing they're at a deficit of is trust. And so if you want to get in there, then you want to build trust, which means you have to be authentic. You have to be human. And that's the one thing that surprises people sometimes, is when you're in that space, I'm just as big a fan sometimes as I am a mentor or a guide. Right. It's like, are you kidding? I love what you do. Right. I'm a fan of what you do. And when you see, I had to get in that world and see that they do that with one another before I realized that was okay. Yeah. It wasn't just okay, it's normal. It would be odd for one A-level artist meet another A-level artist and not say, I appreciate your work, instead of just trying to play it cool. So what I did in that room, I thought, well, I can go at this directly and try to call people out. Because I know if I said, hey, raise your hand if you've ever felt a little hooked by a celebrity. You know what hooked means in our world. How many transference or counter-transference? Or,
okay.
And I would have got, nobody's going to admit that in front of their peers because we're not supposed to. And we can't.
Right. You're impervious.
And I did. I said there's 4 corners in the room, and I'm going to come up with a profession. And I'd like for you to put yourself when you were 6, 7, 8 years old, and I want you to stand in the corner you most relate to. And say, I want to be a professional athlete. I think I put a name on it just to slip me. I want to be a professional actor. I want to be a professional Broadway dancer. And I came up with a few. And then everybody migrated from the middle of the room. Not one person out of 400 people in that room couldn't affiliate with something as a child that they looked at and thought, I want to be that. It was fascinating.
100%.
100%. So right there, I thought, if you dreamed about this as a child because something about it felt attractive to you, then to come into it thinking you have no bias whatsoever is a massive mistake. Because we've all set our sights on something like this as a young child. And the people we're here to serve are the people that have done it. So it's not, to me, it's not really coming into a scenario with someone of influence to try to be effective, to pretend like we're too cool to not be affected in the environment. Wow. It's more, how do I be in that environment and be able to be human, but also separate and step back from what could get in the way and create more bias for how I can be a truth teller in your circle. And the only way you do that is be attractive. And I think your authenticity speaks to it, and it's attractive because you're honest. It's like, I love celebrities. I do too. Who doesn't? Yeah. We all kind of follow sports figures and celebrities we like. And I love that you also said, I minister to a large group of people, and a few of them happen to be this. Because you do get branded that way sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting how celebrity pastors, you mentioned T.D. Jakes as well, end up becoming not just people who work with celebrities, they kind of become celebrities in their own right, or known, or in. And that's where it gets harder. You and I just had a good conversation about that earlier. And I've done a lot more coaching to people who have been very public than I have been public myself. I had a little bit of a taste of that. How did it affect you, and what came first? Did you work with public people and then became very public, or did you become very public as a pastor and then start to work with public people?
I mean, definitely feel like worked with public people. And then I think, and it's what's interesting, and you're so good at assessing this, like relevancy is just so important. All of this is so relevant, and it's just in different stages and spaces and sizes and layers. And, I felt like I was popular in high school. I had a Bible study in my high school, and we had the biggest high school in the state, had 2,000 students, and invited everyone to come hear me preach at my last day of school and in the football stadium. And, and in my little high school, like, bro, I was, we were killing it, So it's all, there's different stages and places, but I think what came first was being kind of a safe place. Man, I mean, I would love to unpack the psychology of suddenly I was this safe place for public figures, and then my public profile started to grow, whether it's a sell of a book or spoke on a stage that went well on the internet. And that dynamic was very interesting, Miles, of like coming back to the public figure and the different public figures kind of looking at you like, are you leveraging this? Just very interesting. A lot of no comments and book tour interviews about certain celebrities. That was a dance. But I'll say the only thing, I did a lot of things wrong, but the one thing I did do right was I came forward and said, to the different people that had public personas, hey, it's come up a lot that you and I know each other. How do you want me to handle that? I want to honor what I do is all about protecting you. And so how would you like me to go about that? And it's funny, that conversation seemed to mean a lot. And I'm not sure how I came across that. I think maybe it was just me going, I don't know what to say in some of these interviews because I'm getting back then I didn't even know what that was. We're like, yes, we'd love to have you on the show. And I was like, wow, they're really interested in my book. And then it's like, it's not about your book at all, buddy. You're getting interviewed about your friend, and you're like, uh-oh, I think, I'm the idiot. And so kept a lot of sense of humor in the process. But man, the cool thing is like, these public figures became real advisors. In my small, scaled back world of being known as a preacher communicator, they were able to really, we got to turn the tables a little bit, where I was the spiritual guide. Now they're like, hey, couple things. I mean, I've literally had older, well-known women, and I won't say who, they've come to me and like, oh, sweetie, that's not how you do an interview. Like, that was so adorable. Don't do that again, okay? And I'm like, what did I do? They're like, yeah, you can't do that. Here's what you should do. And that became a really cool way to bond as well, of them, starting to really give me advice and challenge me and help me and that sort of thing. So, but man, it's a dance. And I guess my motto is like, the song's going to change without any notice, but just keep dancing, and I'm honored to dance with these friends. They're brilliant, wonderful, genius, incredible people. And I just want to go on record to say, I think it's adorable how our culture is just like, they're famous for being famous. Nah, these individuals that many of us admire and look up to are very uniquely, highly skilled, oftentimes incredibly thoughtful people who have given themselves to their craft or to their, and I just find it to be a privilege, to have some proximity to watch them do their craft. I feel like I get a front row to some real savants and geniuses, and I'll have fun stories for my grandkids someday. So that's cool.
Some of the stories we have, we'd never be able to tell. But
totally, but I think the grandkids can take it.
The grandkids. Yeah. Well, I wanted to spend a minute there only because you get the label a lot. If I say my friend Judah, if I say your name, oh, he's the celebrity pastor. He's the guy that pastors all the celebrities. And in some ways, it always bugs me because I feel like it cheapens your brand a little bit. It shouldn't. But people make up a story about that as if that's what you've been in pursuit of for personal gain. And I always know different because I know the whole backstory. But I wanted people to hear a little bit about the backstory. And I would encourage anybody, because I think, whether you're in a seat like ours, a seat of where we encourage people and mentor people with the tools that we've been armed with, I think our world gets a little too fixated and we have a bit of an obsession. And I would just encourage, as best you can, this is what it's taught me to do, being around this community, is I've learned to separate the human from what they do, who they are and what they do. And one of the saddest things I've ever seen from people that are really well known is they lose their ability to ever make a first impression again. Think about that. All of us get to go most of us get to go into a room and meet somebody with a clean slate. But once people know who you are, they make up a story about what that means about who you are. And give people the dignity as best you can to realize and recognize, oh my goodness, I'm enthralled with your art. I'm enthralled with the product that you put out into the world. And I know there must be a human behind that. And try to have a little grace and empathy about the human. And I think we'll dehumanize that community a little less. And I think their influence will get a little more sticky because they got a lot of good to say. And I think there's so many great artists out there in the world that are wanting to turn their message of meaning and value and unity. And we've seen this before. When the world gets pretty polarized, usually the artists are the ones that bring us back together. Come on. And so I want to give these artists that are out there making a statement and putting themselves out in the world, just like you said, a tremendous amount of grace. And when and I can tell you from being behind the scenes, it's cool for a minute. And it's always cool in some way. If you love art, I love great art. I love great music. I love being around it. But at the end of the day, it's just humans trying to do human things, complicated and difficult. Because you've been teed up that way and you've taken a swing to be a little bit more public with your craft, it's come with its fair share of criticism. No doubt about it. I've read some of the press and all that stuff. And talk about criticism, because I think it used to be that not many people could relate to that unless they'd done something similar to what you've done. Everybody now that is on any kind of social platform has a public profile. Even if it's public to 4 people, it's a public profile. And we are all prone to being judged and criticized based on what it is we communicate with the world. How have you found it be helpful to navigate that, or have you?
Yeah, or have you? That's such a knowledgeable question, follow-up. It excites me because Chelsea and I have a new theme to the next chapter of our life, and I'm really excited to share it. And that sounds like I'm setting up a sermon, but it won't be a sermon. But it is deeply meaningful to me right now, and it almost feels sacred. But I'll say my first premise, which has really worked well for me, and it's going to sound so such a simpleton, but here it is. Wow. Someone's thinking about me, whether good, bad, or ugly. What a bonus. A lot of people move through this life and don't get thought of. And by the way, typically when there's visceral towards you, you've been thought of so much that people are thinking about you. They've worked up themselves over you to a point of they oppose you and don't like you. It might sound strange, but somewhere in there is a cosmic compliment that, wow, you have done something with your life. And I think, my dad used to say, congratulations, people talking about you. You must have done something. And so as simple as that sounds, I do absorb that quite a bit. And I kind of retell that story in my mind like, man, what a privilege, what an honor. It gets awkward, when you're at a urinal and someone's confronting you in an airport. So there's awkward moments where you're like, all right, this is counterproductive and a bummer, or your kids are with you, that sort of thing. But here's my big, Miles, I'm so excited about this, and I feel proud to share it with you because I feel like you embody it, and I really mean that. So there's this scripture, I think it's Paul. He says, let your gentleness be on full display. I want people to see that you are gentle. So I didn't do this. Chelsea did this. She's the lead theologian in our church. But she looked up the word gentle. Okay, great. It means deference, kindness, whatever. Then she asked ChatGPT, when the word gentle would have been heard, let's say some 2,000 years ago, what was the cultural understanding of the concept of gentleness socially? And this is where it all just exploded. When Paul says, I want you to be gentle, in that era and that time, it was literally gentleness was something that those who had the upper hand, however you define that, could be more money, could be more influence, could be more consistency, stability, protection, closer family, a dad who cared for him. Whoever has the upper hand, that they take the bulk of responsibility to humble themselves, defer, forgive, and say, hey, I love you. And all I'm saying is that I am going to become an old gentleman. And I already see that in you. It's one of the things I think you and all the friends that love you admire about you. There's a true gentleness, and gentleness is that rare combination of like strength and sensitivity and deference and decorum. And it's like all these things that you really do possess. And here's what I'm going to do. And it has everything to do with my critics. I'm not going to fight them. I think they're all pretty smart. And by the way, some of them have really good points. That's how I feel. I'm just like, yeah.
So you try to listen to some of it.
I mean,
if you think there's something meaningful to try to explore, it's like, okay, well, maybe you're calling out something. So for the most part, and what we would call in my world with your strategy number one, it's called a reframe. Basically taking a scenario, reframing it so that you can see it a little differently, i.e., at least they're talking.
At least they're talking.
It's a good reframe. It's a way to take.
Is anything that they're saying maybe worthwhile?
Yeah, and that we would it's just basically contemplating and stepping back from a scenario and taking a piece of information that you don't want to hear to be able to hold it long enough so that you can see, is there any value in it for me?
That's how I handle all my critics. I just want to say that's it right there. That's so good. But the short of it,
your playbook, by the way. Giving a little color.
Yeah, it's amazing how you describe my playbook so much better than me. But I do want you to know I'm just gonna be gentle, and not gentle sounds like weakness in today's culture. But I'm going to admit something. I have been given an upper hand. There's a lot of ways I have an upper hand. My dad. I mean, we talked about it. We've talked about this before. To have a dad like that, to guide me like that for 30 years, he passed when I was 30, but like I got an upper hand, and recognize that the bulk of responsibility, you know what? even in these cases where I've lost friends, and this article came out that I felt was impacted by old friends of mine, that I'm a cult leader, and I want to be like, but it's like, yeah, but I have an upper hand here, and so I'm going to be gentle. I'm going to forgive. In fact, in some cases, Chelsea and I are making a list of some friends that we're going to go out of our way just contact in a non-threatening way and say, hey, will you forgive us? Felt like we failed you here. We love you. Wish you well. Always in your corner, thinking about you. There may not be a need to reconnect in terms of consistency and weekly friendship and that sort of thing, but I'm just going to move. The rest of my life's going to be defined by gentleness or meekness, which is strength under control. I'm just ready. I'm ready to be that guy. I'm really attracted to that guy, i.e. you. I like that in people. So that's who I'm going to be. And I feel like it's God's given me the energy to do it, the passion to do it. I suddenly, by the way, if you're like, well, how do I know if I want to be gentle? If suddenly you got the urge to reach out to people who've hurt you and just let them know that you love them and you wish them well. By the way, there's layers and levels that you've taught me. Some of these people need to be in jail, and you really shouldn't have contact with them. So there are levels to everything I'm saying here within reason. But in the cases of many of our friends that we felt kind of hurt by, and I can't believe they said that, it's like, look how blessed I am. Like, we have friends who are upset at Chelsea and I, but I think part of it is, I'm still married after 25 years. That's a level of an upper hand, and that's the grace of God, that I can be more gracious to my friend who's gotten divorced and he's kind of tried multiple different scenarios and it's not working out for him. And I'm kind of like, well, why not be gentle and kind and encourage him and let him know I'm thinking about him and praying for him. So that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going for the next 25 years. I'm just going to be this gentle guy. And whether or not that translates on the golf course, I doubt it.
There's a whole other you that comes
nightmare
out on the golf
That's
course.
why I won't golf with you, because I don't want you to realize that I'm as bad as I really am.
Come on.
No, I'm breaking golf clubs. Like, it's a whole thing. I have gotten better, though. I really have.
I thought you meant like actually, because you're a scratch golfer.
I've been making some good scores, but I mean like when I...
You mean mentally how...
Yeah, mentally, like, I mean, break
you
clubs,
get in a whole
throw
zone.
clubs, yeah. And I don't know why. I think it's like how I get certain emotions out. I need you to assess it at some point. We can talk about it later.
But you love it, don't you?
Obsessed. And remember, we just talked when we were in Idaho together. I didn't realize, like, I thought you just went golfing with like golfing buddies' ears to like entertain them and just be there. But you like genuinely love the game.
Yeah, I like the game,
which means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Can you play with me tomorrow at 10:30 a.m.?
Where?
Here in the Troubadour Club. I'm being dead serious.
What have I got tomorrow?
We have 3. We're looking for 4.
That'd be awesome. It's possible. Okay.
It's so past due for us to tee it up.
It really is.
How cool is that? I just remembered that we're still looking for a 4th.
Okay.
Corey was setting it up for us, who's a member there, and he said,
Troubadour's an awesome track. Have you played it?
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
I'm just going to circle back to a question that I asked earlier, and I wanted you to give it just a little bit more color in another lane, because I had said, I've talked about your profession even more than I normally do, because I think your profession to a lot of secular people is widely misunderstood, and I just kind of wanted them to understand it a little bit more.
Well, thank you.
And how it's not just so one-dimensional, like I'm here to preach to people that come sit in front of me. It's actually, I got a pretty good gift of communication, and I want to figure out how I can circulate that to the world with a message I deeply believe in. It's the way I've always seen you, and that's why
it means a lot.
There's some pastors, and I've got my old wounds. You and I just talked about some of it, that come from my faith, and I've got my current faith, but there's some pastors that I don't know, I feel a little threatened by, because I realize what they know, and I know they're usually going to lead with that, and it's not, that's okay. It's just who's the human behind the theology. Yeah. Is there somebody in there behind what you know?
Right.
And you always lead with that, which is kind of refreshing. But I had asked, I said, okay, as a good communicator, as a man of faith who's trying to live principled, but imperfectly, how does that benefit your personal life as a father and as a husband? Because I love you and your wife do this marriage Mondays, right?
Yeah.
Where you go on and you just talk about marriage, the ups and downs and the goods and bads, and give encouragement to people. And so I make up, and I know you a little bit, so it's a little inside baseball, that I know you're a great dad, and I know you're a great husband. I know you're a great friend, really great friend. But how have your natural skill set, how does it benefit you? in these other lanes. Earlier when I asked you, I just want to point I appreciated where you went first because you went to the challenge side. You're like, here's where it's haunted me. And you said, I think you think it's been helpful and it's haunted me at times. And you gave some light to the haunted side, but never said much about the help.
The help. You know what's cool is you wake up one day and your kids are growing and you realize like, yo, I can really connect with my kids. I was a youth pastor for a decade. Wait a minute. Oh my word, I've been in like training for this. Like this is fun. As silly as it sounds, without them knowing, I've given myself permission to use the same, tools is such a good word, but I feel like you use another word of like ways to kind of like connect with people and open them up and get them talking. I have that, that I've been using for years. I mean, there's nothing like cold turkey walking up to a high school and getting an okay to walk the lunchroom as a youth pastor. And then you're just looking for kids to connect with. I mean, if you can develop that skill, it's like, and you got a teenager living in your house. And as silly as it sounds, like I started to go, wait a minute. Because parenting has a real strange way of letting you know you don't know anything.
Oh.
And you are an idiot.
There is nothing better.
And you're a nightmare. And you're just like, and it's like everything you used to know, like I could sit with another set of parents, which I did so many times, hundreds of times, and told them how to help their teenager. But now it's my teenager. And I'm just like, I got nothing. So I just started to give myself permission almost to kind of put on that hat and be like, hey, what would you tell yourself right now to do? And not let the emotion run me over and turn me into a version that's not even me or the person I've encouraged other dads to be. So that was a real awakening. It probably happened when the boys were like 6, 7, 8, 9 kind of a thing. I was like, wait a minute. So that's been really fun. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it helps me win arguments with Chelsea, and that's fun. I'm like, she's like, I can't argue with you. You're too good at this. You always win. And that feels really good, Miles. I'm not going to lie to you. When she starts doing that, I'm like, I do always win. I'm not going to lie. But actually, no, her logic is irrefutable, as I say. But yeah, I mean, the cool thing about what I get to do is the whole premise of my life is forgiveness. It's unearned, unmerited forgiveness. And so, man, if that doesn't set you up to keep a marriage going, to keep your kids connected, forgiveness is the name of what I do. It's the definitive characteristic of the faith that I subscribe to. So this idea of just forgiving is something I can never escape. Tonight I'm going to do a Bible study. It's going to have a lot to do with forgiveness. That's kind of what we do. So in my line of work, when I go home, it's like, well, here's one non-negotiable for me. You can't be a disseminator of forgiveness and not just forgive your wife, forgive your kids, or when they ask for forgiveness, be like, no problem. And so I feel like I do have a head start in that regard.
Well, and I want people to hear that because I think people pedestal folks that study certain things and get good at certain things and have a lot of influence and things to say. And either one, I don't think you are. I certainly am far from a parenting expert. I think I've got some experience and expertise to say about what it's like to be a parent. But one of the big ones you've already said, which is how humbling it actually is. And it was funny. When we talked about your profession, you were like, I'm really confident. I mean, got to parenting. It's like, I feel like I got nothing. and yet, it's not confidence in parenting that has been my superpower. It's just belief. Wow. Like I have this deep belief that I really, there's nothing I want to do more than be a good father to my parents, to my kids, and to my parents. Did I say that? Freudian slip. No, I'm kidding. There's nothing more I want to do than just be a good father. And I believe that to my core. That's a truth in me that I believe. And I also have to take the other side of that, which is I'm not going to get that right all the time. And I think people in our profession that go out with love and forgiveness and empathy and courage, and there's only so much energy you have in your tank. And and when we pour out, there's no way we won't come home sometime and there be a deficit of what we have left to pour into the people that matter the most. I can't tell you my kids are at 6 and 8, and I've already made that mistake more than I'm proud of.
Yeah.
And the only reason I share that is I think a lot of you have too. I really do think there's a lot of people listening that, and I want you to hear, I know the parenting experts, and they make the same mistake.
Yeah.
It makes me feel a little bit better, but they have the tools that make the same mistakes. And I think if we can get in the currency of repair over the comparison of the rip, when it comes to parenting or any kind of life strategy that we may pluck from our profession and what we show the world or what we monetize, but this is how we synthesize it and then bring it into a real usable tool for love, connection, empathy, grace, then I believe we do that when we believe in each other. And it's just a simple belief. Like I said, with extreme confidence, you're a great father.
Wow.
And how many times you've called me and said, man, I really dropped the ball, I feel like. I'd like to do it different. It didn't change my belief in who you are at all because I know what it is you desire to do. You may not do it perfectly, but you really desire to love your kids well. And I do too. And I think most parents have that desire. But I think we get caught up in what we're getting wrong. And sometimes it gets us so far buried behind those messages that we fail to find a way out to even begin to get it right. And usually when we're on the feed of what it looks like, none of it's realistic. I mean, trust me, I try not to I said it earlier with social, I'm trying new to social, I'm trying to figure it all out. I try not to just give you the highlight reel. But I mean, it's like I'm flipping through my vacation photos like, man, we look good right there.
Man, that's a good one.
And you want to post it and share it. But you got to remember, that's what we're all doing. I did not take a picture, video, and show you the meltdown that happened the 30 minutes before. But I can assure you the meltdown happened.
Yeah, I can assure you. Repair, not compare. Can I just say, like, 21, 18, 16, if I could give, other than God's unending forgiveness, I would give that as a gift to humans everywhere. But it's already been given. If someone asked me, what could you give, to a family? Man, a dad or a mom who are saying, and by the way, there's a lot of single moms, single dads out there. There's a lot of grandmas and grandpas raising babies, uncles and aunts. But like the ability to say, I'm going to be a beacon. I'm going to be a disseminator of repair. And the way that happens, I thank God, my dad, with tears in his eyes, God bless him, he showed me from a young age. He'd sit the family down. It wasn't always this dramatic. Hey, I need to ask your forgiveness. Judah, Wendy, my sister's name, we'd be 6, 5. And, early on I was like, and Dad would classically, the story went, he'd say, Judah, do you forgive me? And I would go, yep. And it was done. And I grew up thinking, that's how you repair. And so I have done more things than I'm ever willing to admit wrong in parenting. But I tell you one thing Chelsea and I committed to. And sometimes it was after like yelling, screaming, and cussing. And the sooner you do it, the more spiritual you are, maybe. I don't know. But I don't know how that works. But it's like sitting the family down and saying, the other night, somebody was telling me about a buddy of mine who's getting baptized. And to be honest, I'm so annoyed with him and some other stuff in his life. And I was like, well, that's really good he's been baptized. But I'll tell you a couple. And I said it in front of the whole family in the car. And my daughter, 16-year-old, goes, wow, we were having a really good time until you said that, Dad. And I got quiet for 20 minutes. And I was mad. And I wanted to tell her what I meant. And Next morning. Hey, actually, no, it was the end of the drive. Thank you very much. By the time we got home, the 20-minute drive, we got into the driveway, and I said, family, I got to say something. Will you forgive me? Like, that was unnecessary. I got some stuff there that's just not okay, and I want to celebrate that this person's been baptized, and, that's not who we are. It's not who I want to be. And that commitment to repair. And what's so awesome about repair is it's not like everything, to me, everything, all the other elements of parenting and the recipe of parenting, it takes a lot of like really good work. But repair is like, it's just somebody who says, I'm a nightmare, kids. Dad's here. Will you forgive me? And oh my word, we've had the best family moments ever in the environment of repair. And you just said something I'll never forget, and I promise I'm done. But like that repairing, it's the antidote to the comparing. Like, I don't know, it just sets you free from like, because you almost fall in love with each other again. And you're like, Dad, you're the best. Like, son, I'm sorry for doing that. Will you hug me? And I kind of forget about the whole world because you fall in love in this real deep connective moment, and I'm not worried about the Joneses, you know?
Yep.
So I just, those words that you just put together, which you do a lot for me, like that is the mantra of our parenting life. It's like, we're going to be big repair parents, and we're just going to call ourselves out. And perhaps that's been the reason that our family's still intact so far.
Honestly, Vanessa and I, some of our more intimate moments are on the backside of repair. Sometimes I just want to plant some conflict, so I got something to apologize for because I know what's coming next. It's like,
Wait, I can share some of mine with you.
No, we've got plenty of conflict. I don't have to plant it. But you've talked about your dad a lot, and I would imagine losing him at 30.
30, yep.
Was far too soon.
Yeah.
Do you remember the last conversation or the parting message?
Yeah. It's deeply wild. He was watching me preach on a live stream. His house was about a mile away from the church campus. If you know our story, my dad started this church in 1992 with 20 people in a Courtyard Marriott. Shout out to Courtyard. Bonvoy points. I'm kidding. They're not our sponsor. What am I doing? Can you imagine if that's how I snuck in Bonvoy? Oh, man. I'm down if you're out there, Marriott. But Miles and I will be your spokesperson. But we started the church, and it grew, and it was awesome. And then my dad got diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which now, ironically, could be much more treated. But back then, it was just absolutely a death sentence. He's going to live 6 months, live 6 years. Miraculous. But in the process, his body started to degenerate. And by the end, he's kind of stuck in his bed, and he's watching me. I was then the preaching pastor and was going to take over leadership of the church after he passed. So he's watching on a live feed. And right after Sunday, I would cruise over to Dad's house and sit with him and say, hey, what do you think? You know, how'd it go? And this particular Sunday, which was the last time we did this, we would talk again when he would end up passing in Vegas at my sister's house. But one of our, probably the most meaningful combo, he crawls out of bed, and I'm like, what are you doing, you know? And he just got on his knee, and he said, I want my pastor to pray for me. I said, Dad, he said, you're my pastor. I know you're my son, but God has set you in as the spiritual leader of this community. And you're my pastor, and I just think it would be awesome on a Sunday for my pastor to pray for me. And I mean, you can imagine I was an absolute mess, and I could barely function, but it was, I think more than anything, what was happening there in kind of our pastor language world is it was a dad telling a son, you're your own man, and I respect that, and I honor that, and I'm proud of you. And we need that, don't we? We need, older fathers to tell the sons, I'm proud of you, and you're doing great. And so if nothing else, I'm determined to be the old, gentle, secure man who encourages the young men and women to be all that God has designed them to be. So yeah, it was one of the most special moments of my whole life. And for the life of me, I can't remember what I prayed, so clearly that wasn't the point. But it was a moment that I certainly needed, and there are days I still go back to that moment and be like, hey, one thing he added was, I don't know where you're getting this content. I don't know where you're getting it from, but it has to be God, because I've never heard the Bible like this. I've never heard the scripture like this. And he literally said to me, he goes, where are you getting this? And I said, Dad, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's just coming to me like on the stage. He's like, wait, you didn't prepare? And then we got into some of the nuts. So he's like, nuts and bolts, like that was not in your notes. I was like, no. He's like, son, that's from God. He's crying, I'm crying. And so it was a moment of affirmation that sticks with me forever.
Well, it's beautiful. And there's a lot of people, I think, that get handed the baton, and then people do what they do with batons. And it's been fun to watch you take that and run with it and see what you've done. And the way you've talked about, we've talked about your dad before, but we've never spent this much time hearing stories about your father. And I love that it kind of organically went that way, because I really wanted to get to know you more, and I feel like I got to know your dad more. And ironically, I think through your dad, I'm getting to know you more. Because I really do think that it sounds like he had a great legacy and then you carved out your path. You're continuing to build your own, and it's not something we leave behind. It's something I think we live into.
Wow.
And I think you're living into it in a really beautiful way. There were a million things that I wanted to talk to you about, and I know we'll get time because we got lots of time to do friends and relationship, but I want to honor that you're 2 podcasts in and thinking about golf tomorrow already, I bet, at 10:30 in the morning. So
I'll see you there. But Judah, I haven't committed yet.
I hope so. But I do want to, is it okay if I get one more question?
Please.
And then I want to close with something.
I would love that.
You asked me a great question earlier, which was, the way you frame questions, I think you're one of the best question askers I've ever known. And I can't remember the frame, but it ultimately was something like, tell me, you invited me to talk about my relationship with faith and where my struggle with it historically had been. And I gave you an answer that was one part personal that I'll save for another time. But the other part was, I've always been genuinely curious about the people that don't go to church or that don't believe this, and would they feel comfortable being with a community of people if we stripped away the insider language and all the stuff that is, and we applied love and intimacy and connection and grace and ideally common human principles that we hope to all elevate and connect around to make for a better humanity. Because we know that's all in it. I mean, that's really what you're trying to teach. And I love that you don't shy away from it, because I think you're really proud of the book of knowledge. But I'm curious for those that are listening that are secular ears or not faith-based Christian folks, that and I would make up that's a lot of people, because we're talking to a secular audience. And how do you? I think you've done a good job of being unapologetic about bringing your beliefs into mainstream, because you don't just pastor. There's other things that you do too in the entertainment community, and a lot of people don't know that part of your story, which I think is really cool. But you do it unapologetically, but somehow you figured out a way to do it approachable. Because I have some similar beliefs, but I usually don't lead with some of the language. And I'm usually a little, it's find a way through the back door, and you just come in and you just lead with the language, lead with who you are, but it doesn't seem to push people away. And I think that's what we all hope to be. And I think there's a part of you that I have recognized that you may have an agenda under there, but I've never felt like you needed to convert me into a certain way of life or belief. I think if you did have a genuine hope about who I was as a human, I always felt like that was first, and whatever followed was just bonus.
It means a lot.
And so I guess for those folks that have heard us come in and out of Christian speak, we talked about Jesus, we talked about Scripture, we've done some good storytelling, and how would you encourage them? What's a message that somebody like you, who's a genuine encourager, that most of the ears probably, a lot of the ears probably align somewhat, or they're either asking questions about the things that you teach. They want to hear from a minister. But I love you as a minister, but I really love you as Judah, the guy.
Thank you.
And I've learned to love both, and I think you've got so much to offer people beyond even where you've spent your life. So what do you say to people out there in the world?
I mean, it's just one of the most important questions and that I can think of, so it means a lot. It really does. So ultimately, the way that I feel about faith gets down to how I see God. So, which is in turns affects dramatically how I move with him. So I see God, his favorite title in the sacred scripture is Father. Which I just love that. I see him as the most secure, safe, wonderful, I get emotional, but gentle Father. So the reason that moves me is that we treat God like he's a bashful, shy, reluctant heir apparent who's socially awkward and doesn't really know what to say, so we have to kind of do PR for him. But I just get this overwhelming feeling that the God who moves mountains and controls the currents of the oceans and seas of the world, like, he's got stuff in the ocean that we don't even know about. And every once in a while, our submarines pick it up, and these colors and these dimensions of things that were never, it's like just for him to look at. So like his immeasurable beauty, is wild to me. So the way that I see the world is that there's a father, and we're all his kids, like all of us, completely. And we all look different, and we all have lived different lives, and we all have really different backgrounds and contexts, which all need to be celebrated, and we need to care for each other. But the way that I see that is like, he's never in a rush. He's so big and so grand that if he wants to reveal himself, make no mistake, he will. That the things that the traditions of men have made light of and minimized, I think are really sacred to him. I think of the missionary work that some of the people from our country have done, where we have tried to kind of make people look like us. That's just humans being humans, doing human things. But that's not God the Father. He made us all beautifully different and wonderful. The reason racism, it plays this really, really big role in my heart, is not because I want to hate people who are racist. Therein lies the problem. I am myself then a racist. Is that the hating of one another and the division of one another, which people fail to realize that a lot of racism and all the hate and stuff that's happening right now in the world, a lot of it is perpetuated and peddled by how we see God and religion. And so that scares me. But I wonder if it's, this is such a big answer, but like the question means so much to me, it's really hard to get through it. But my point is like, if there is a God and he is Father, man, like, then to me, we're all related, and more related than we're not, more connected than we're not. And it's weird, bro. Like, I can go real weird, and it'll probably frustrate some fundamental Christians, but like, I feel connected to nature. I feel connected to animals because we all have the same Father. And so, to me, this idea of us and them is so not what the Father is about. And I think he thinks some of our lines down here are adorable, and I think some of the lines down here are deplorable. It's humans being humans. But I look into the future, and I can't help, when I say change the world, I can't help but dream of a spiritual awakening, a human awakening that awakens us to who our Father is. Not even like, I know doctrine and dogma is in there, but it's like, even when people call me a Christian, and I know Christians won't like this, but that title was never given by Jesus. God didn't give us that title. Those were onlookers who tried to describe, they look like little Jesuses. Okay, cool. But like, back in the beginning, we were just people that were about the way of Jesus. And like, I just feel connected to the earth. I feel connected to other people. And I think the reason I'm excited about, you and the work you do is because I think there's an envy that I have, because I feel like you're smart enough to know that, man, if you can leave some of the dogmatic doctrine and religious mumbo jumbo behind, we might be able to actually help somebody here and like get to their heart, because we're so over traumatized with religion and all that's been done. And I'm no historian, but enough to know that a lot of it has been used to really destroy this planet and each other. And so, yeah, I think there's this thing in me that's like, bro, you can tell me whatever doctrine and dogma you believe in, but I don't think you understand. Like, bro, I am you and you are me. Like we have the same Father. It's how I see it. And I think he is as in love with you as he is in love with me. So I do dream of a global revolution that changes the world, and where we start seeing each other for who we are. Nothing is more important than humans. Nothing. So I blame you for asking that question because, nothing's more important to me in the whole world. So I don't exist to make Christians. Like, that's not my goal. It's to help people realize who they already are, And they're already loved, and they're already forgiven, and they're already his. And that's just how I feel. So my goal in life is not to make Christians. My goal in life is to introduce them to their Father, their eternal Father, who loves them and has them on their own unique path. And oh boy, the fundamentalists aren't going to like this, but that's you got to me too late, man. I'm already too far in love with the Father and all of his kids. But that is my worldview. That's how I see the whole world. And I want as much as the family to be together as possible.
Beautiful.
There it is.
Thank you. Well, if there's anything I could leave you with, it would be, and that's who I know you to be. Approachable. You care about the table being big. There's no requirement to sit at it. It's not, do you believe what I believe? Do you? And that's not. I have a lot of pastor friends. I love pastors because they're just, but
you help us a lot.
You study this message and theology, and you learn it, and you become so exquisite with it, you can teach it. I love teachers, educators, pastors, because I think you do it for the reason in which you have a deep belief that by speaking words through you and over you, I can help you. So I find pastors be, for the most part, genuinely sincere. And sometimes I think all right, well, let's flip the script. Therapists, counselors, coaches, we get so ingrained in what we know that sometimes it becomes who we are. Yeah. And I really I think the more we can strip it back and not get so fixated on the titles or the language, but really see the humanness in one another. We just happen to be armed with some knowledge we believe in, but a proof to the answer to that question, there's nothing I don't think you love any more than people. You just love people, and that's what I see. That's the genuine. And so, I would say just keep moving. You've always been moving, and keep moving in your living room as a parent. Keep moving in your marriage as a great husband. Keep moving in your church for as long as you want to serve in that role. Keep moving in the creative spaces and because I believe we need storytellers to help storytellers be human, and you're doing that. People sometimes look at guys like us like, what are you guys doing all tied up in the entertainment community? Right. And once you get in there, you realize, hey, we're storytellers. Yep. So it's just scratching an itch. Yep. It's like, oh, okay, we're storytellers. We found a home here in a way, and it happens to be a bunch of rejects that are trying to figure out. So we fit there too. Yep. But I think there's a space for more grace and more love and less comparison in the storyteller framework, so that narrative gets passed on to everybody. So we all deserve is just a little bit better humanity. And I think guys like you, leaders like you, you're going to get, because you've already got enough eyes on you, of course you're going to get a little bit more criticism for wherever you go. But I'm excited about where you go. And I'm excited about where you go with Church Home, with all your endeavors. But I'm really excited to see what else you got cooking. What's coming. Same. What are you going to write next? What are you going to talk about next? What industry are you going to influence next? Why am I excited about that? Because I'm a recipient of it. You love me really well. I said earlier we probably should have saved some of the great conversation we had for this, but I wouldn't trade it for anything because it's what I needed. And you have this incredible instinct of meeting people where they are and delivering what it is they need. And I know that comes from, that's why I admire your faith so much. Wow. I know it came straight from a source. And I was like, I believe it and I trust it. And you see something in me, and I just want you to know I reciprocate. I've always seen it in you. I believe in you. And myself, and I hope all the listeners that are part of Human School will now get behind you and continue to be wind behind your sails. We love you, buddy.
I love you.
Thanks for being here.
And changed my life. Human school. Register. There's no registering for human school.
Thank you, Marriott.
Yeah, thank you, Bonvoy Marriott, American Express. Guys, thank you for that. Miles, that was awesome. Thank you. Gosh, that last question, man. Oof.